look at some of the people in the crypts, like the expressions on their faces. It's very scary. And you can still see the clothes they're wearing. So we're in this museum in Mexico City that basically has dead people on display, people who died at the end of the 19th century. And all of them look like they had a terrible death. It's very, very scary. Look at that painting on the wall here. We got skull and bones. In Mexico, they have a very different approach to death versus in other countries. Right now, it's the Day of the Dead is coming up, and people are dressed up as skeletons and skulls, and they're almost celebrated. Versus in America and in other cultures, we try to hide it, and we don't want to see it. We don't want to see what happens when people die. A parade walked down the streets of Oaxaca on the Day of the Dead with huge papier-mâché puppets of skeletons, people showing off their death-related costumes. All around the city, bands played and men and women sat down to get their faces transformed into holiday skulls. In Asia, death is white. In Europe, death is black. But in Mexico, death is colorful, mostly orange. Maybe the color and the music makes it seem less scary. We just stopped by a cemetery here in Zaachila. It's a small town near Oaxaca, and I've never seen such a beautiful cemetery before. I mean, look at this. Look at the graves, the flowers. I would say this is more interesting than to see the parade and people wearing skeleton masks. But I think the mood here is more sober. People are thinking about those relatives who have passed away and putting candles on their graves, flowers. People are sad, you know, you see more elderly people here, probably remembering their loved ones. And we both have lost someone in the last year too, so a time to reflect. People painting the grave for the Day of the Dead. It's the most colorful cemetery I've ever seen in my life. She painted a smiling skull and like some flowers. No grave in the cemetery was left undecorated. No one who died was forgotten. They actually put pumpkin. They're really mixing up Halloween with Day of the Dead. They put a pumpkin in the cemetery. It's kind of unusual, don't you think? This is the entrance to the cemetery. There's music playing, there's snacks being sold, there's drinks being sold, flowers being sold, and some people are in costume, dancing. And there's a bunch of stray dogs here. The gates of the cemetery have got skulls painted all over them. Why do our cemeteries have to be so bare, so cold, so devoid of art and beauty? If I tried to paint my grandmother's gravestone, I would probably get arrested or sent to a mental hospital or something. Gravestones in the US and everything related to funerals have become such a big business. We pay thousands of dollars for the burials of our loved ones, yet the graves and cemeteries do not belong to us, to the families of the deceased. They are standardized, each different from the next, only by the dates and names written on the stone. Even the phrases and designs are standardized, as if they were chosen from a multiple choice list. Yet each of those individuals who lived and died was a unique being with their own tastes and personality. So why do we make their gravestones, their final trace in the world, so anonymous, so similar to all the other gravestones? Imagine if I showed up and put wooden toys on my grandmother's grave because she collected wooden toys. We can go down into the tombs. Whoa, that is crazy. Do you want to go down there?
Yeah.
It's very scary. Take a video?
Yeah. Well, I'll follow you down.
Wow, this is scary. We're going into
What I'm going to do is when you're down there, I'm going to shut the doors and hear you screaming.
Please don't do that.
Come on. Of course I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
Jesus.
I hope nobody forgets us in here. That would be terrible.
No. Well, we'll be part of a permanent exhibit.
I can't believe they're like letting people go here. It's fucking crazy. I'm not gonna crawl through there. How safe is this? Fucking shit. Oh my fucking god. Are you gonna crawl in there?
I don't know. It's made for much smaller people. This will be the last sight we ever see before we die.
This is like...
Is there any light in there? Oh god, this is... Jesus, this is not made for guys like me.
There's nothing to see here, to be honest. It just smells like death.
Oh god. Yeah, same here. Oh no, they're shutting the doors.
Fuck, I almost just hit my head. I'm really sorry, I hate jokes. Never been inside an Aztec tomb.
Well, now you have.
Yeah. Okay, so these tombs we just climbed into, basically it says that Mexican archaeologists tried to excavate them in the 1940s and the 1950s, but they were forced to flee by the mad residents of this town, the Zaachilans. They chased them away, and eventually another archaeologist in 1962 excavated these tombs under armed guard. And in one of these tombs they found like some Mixtec treasure that is now at the National Anthropology Museum in Mexico City. All around Oaxaca, art galleries featured exhibitions of paintings and papier-mâché sculptures inspired by death. A big sign proudly proclaimed, "We do not forget our dead." So we were just walking around and we found this museum. We didn't know what it was. We just walked in, it was free. And it has an exhibition of historical photographs from probably, when would you say, 19th century?
Late 19th or early 20th?
Yeah, late 19th century. And then right next to them, modern art that was inspired by those photographs, which is an unusual thing. I've never seen an artist do that.
Why don't you tell about this photo over here?
Yeah, for example, right here, we have a photograph of I assume a mother who's holding her dead baby because she's wearing black, and it looks like the way she's looking at the baby, it looks like the baby is dead. And then this is a huge modern painting done in 2022 called Mourning, where we have this baby and the mother done in this modern style. And here's a few other ones, like there's this woman, this plump woman wrapped in a sheet, and there's this group of 4 people, 2 women in white and 2 men. I don't know, for some reason they look like they might be nurses or graduates. They're holding something in their hands. Maybe they just graduated from nursing school. And there's a girl kneeling probably in church, wearing all white. And now we have the modern renditions of these works. This is the woman in the white sheet. And the group of the 4 people with the 2 women in white. And this is the woman who's kneeling. So they're taking something that is very, it's a photograph, very defined, and turning it into this dreamy modern image. It's combining historical with modern, which is interesting. Okay, all right. Every day I wake up remembering that Grandma is gone, but I had never been to her grave. Her death made me realize my own mortality in a powerful way, the mortality of my parents and of all my loved ones. The passage of time, that none of us will live forever, the split second in which our whole life passes, the impermanence of youth. Before, when you were young, you live with the illusion that you are immortal, that everyone you love is immortal. But Grandma is gone now. I don't have a grandma anymore. I used to be that person who always still had a grandma when other people didn't, because she lived to be very old. Now that's changed. I crossed into a different stage of life, not the youngest in the family anymore. Not the one who listens to advice from the elders, but the one who assumes responsibility. So this is where I'm going to spend the rest of eternity. It's a casket.
Mexico?
In Mexico. I mean, this casket is on display at a very cute coffee shop. There is a dead person inside being eaten by giant spiders. So a half-decomposed body. There we go. And it's a nice fancy casket. If anybody wants to move in, it's available. Dead person's image. You can also, here in the coffee shop, you can get the bread of the dead, pan de muertos, traditional apparently.
What is that?
I'm not sure what it actually looks like, but that's the bread of the dead on the menu. Bread of the dead for the Day of the Dead festival. In the market here, people set up altars with the photos of their deceased, with the foods they enjoyed in their lifetimes. Our tour guide said, "My grandfather liked to drink beer, so I put beer on his altar." The other tour guide said to us that most altars also have skulls on them. Nowadays, they're not real skulls, but candy skulls or skulls made from papier-mâché or clay. But back in the day, they had real skulls on the altars, our guide said. And I thought about how the Aztecs ate the arms and legs of their sacrificed prisoners, but not the heads and torsos which they gave to their beasts. For how else would you get to have a real skull unless you did not bury the body, but did something else with it?
What's that?
It looks like there's a painting, a picture, a photograph, black and white, of the owners of this house, and this is probably like an altar, a tribute to them. They probably passed away. There's different offerings of food on there, like corn and peanuts and breads, and the skeleton looking down on it. No one mentions the cannibalism of the Aztecs anymore, yet it is a very prominent subject in the Spanish records. The main justification that the Spanish gave for colonizing the Americas. When I saw the ancient Aztec sculptures at the Anthropology Museum in Mexico City for the first time, I was amazed by how similar they look to today's Mexico skulls that are seen everywhere during the Day of the Dead festival. I do not know why the Aztec sculpture was so sinister, so different from the Mayan works of art, but I immediately think back to Bernal Diaz's book, The Conquest of New Spain. I can only imagine the terror of the Spanish conquistadors when they saw Aztec temples with walls covered in blood and the high piles of human bones, and saw how the Aztecs ate the limbs of their prisoners and made flutes and other musical instruments from their bones. Here we are at the Museum of Anthropology, and here we have humans who are turning into skulls and skulls who are turning back into humans, if you look.